Okay, in our little first encounter here, we are looking at the second turn coming up, and you'll notice in the overhead shot there are troops. Actually, let me adjust this so that we can get a proper view of the entire field. You'll see that we have Confederate units arriving at the top. And in the middle, some arriving Union units as well. Um, what I was going to do before I had to check these technology issues was to say that we're going into the next turn, and in so doing, um, we are debating how one does initiative. So at the beginning of the game, all players activate at once. All things that are entering enter, uh, and we'll let the chips fall as where they may. But in many cases, you may have a scenario where only one thing enters, or limited things, or something is already in place on the battlefield. So in our case here, we just went for it. So now the question is, who's got the initiative? Second turn, nobody. Okay, if nobody has the initiative, then everybody has the initiative, right? All things are the same. Everybody moves at the same time. There's nobody moving first. And that is entering into that other controversial nomenclature, lexicon realm of explaining how these things are done. Because when you think about it, who's going first? First meaning what? Okay, who moves first? And is that moving first in space and time happening before another guy, another thing? Or is it simply a physical convenience to have one player's force move and then the other player's force move? They're happening at the same time, but to be organized about it, you move all his stuff and then you move all the other stuff, the opposing stuff. Well, you can do it that way. Or you can say, actually, it is happening in a different space and time. He is actually moving his troops before the other guy's moving. See, so how does this happen? Well, as you can imagine, there's a million ways to Sunday to figure this thing out and to say how it's going to happen. So you simply have to choose one, choose a thing, choose a methodology. Um, and in our situation here, we can say one of the options for doing this would be roll a die on the commander's CVS, Command Valuation System number, for initiative. Rolling higher than that number means, yay, you win and you go first. You get to move, and the other opposing does not until the winner of the initiative goes first. In real time and space, the other player is not doing anything. The other forces are physically not doing anything in actual time. and the opposing player, the one who won the initiative, is doing something. Whereas the other method would be everything is moving at the same time, everything's happening at the same time. We're simply making this guy move first and his forces, and the other guy is going to just simply wait until he's done. It's just simply a matter of convenience. Move all your stuff. Okay, and I'll move all my stuff. Well, wait a minute. What about those cases where things are like this, right? So close that it makes a huge difference as to who physically moves first. Another way around this would be to say, okay, the winner of initiative activates or moves just one thing. And then what? And then the opposing player can make a decision, right? If everything's happening at the same time in that methodology, everything's happening at the same time, then the other player would move one thing. Okay? So it's just simply a matter of physical convenience. But in real space-time, if one activated player is actually being able to commit and move before the opposing player, that's a different story, right? So he will move everything he wants to move because he won the initiative. Again, it's luck, but he won the initiative. He gets to move everything at once. And the other player can't do anything. Because in real space-time, he's just simply going, I wonder what I should do. Well, I'm not sure. Oh, there he's moving. Oh, well, let's just wait and see. That's the reality. As opposed to reality being Commander A and Commander B going, well, we're going to move our forces, so let's issue our orders and get our troops moving at the same time. And that's where the problem comes in, because what does same time mean? Everybody move physically at once. Well, what if they're so close that they could be trotting on each other's, intended point of stopping? So, yeah, it's kind of controversial. So a quick fix around this would be to say that the initiative winner moves all his forces, and then the opposing player moves all their forces. When the opposing player is not moving, the one who lost the initiative, he's not moving, does that mean his forces are stationary? Like from last turn, they were moving, right? And at the end of the turn, did they stop? Or are they just simply, that was the end of the turn and they're still moving, right? We just ended the turn at that point. So this is why, especially in Hex Command Mechanize and Hex Command Nova, when your battle mech is moving, you need to mark it at the end of the turn if it's stopped. Otherwise, it's still moving. It really technically should be the same thing here. If you stop moving, you should really mark something as not moving. Give it an immediate marker. It's stopped. Why? Because next turn, there will be situations where you have to get it moving again. Like a tank doesn't go from 0 to 6 hexes. An armored car doesn't go from 0, not moving at all, to moving 6, right? I mean, that's unrealistic, but games work that way, right? Because you got to move somehow. You can't just move a portion, although in Time Driver, in our version of Car Wars, yeah, you actually start out with an acceleration speed or distance that you move, and then you keep moving that distance until you get to your maximum in that turn. So you move a pulse and a pulse and a pulse until you get to that maximum speed. Say you designated, I'm going 60 miles an hour. We don't go from 0 to 6 hexes. You go 0 to 1, 1 to 2, etc. Same thing kind of can apply here. You don't go from a stationary to moving 4. Well, actually, we do. We don't have pulse movement in Hex Command Gunpowder and the early eras. We just simply say, and again, this is all a matter of just convenience. Just move. Okay, just move the guys. Don't think about it. Don't overthink it. Well, here's the problem. It's not that you're overthinking it. It's just that in this situation, you've got guys that are really close to each other. And the initiative winner is going to whoa, take advantage, or maybe he's going to say, you know what, I actually won the initiative, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to move. It's my initiative, but I'm not going to move. And the other opposing player says, well, okay, then if you're not going to move, then, I'll fire. And so the person who won the initiative said, yeah, we're not moving, we're firing. All right, so everybody fire, boom. And the opposing player says, okay, everybody fire, boom. But now, you see, who fires first? As in Hex Command Mechanize and Hex Command Nova, we go, wait, who fires first? And why does that matter? If all combat is simultaneous? Controversy, controversy. Is all combat simultaneous? In real life? No. One guy always has the ability or the action to fire before the other guy. It's like luck of the draw. We see you target, fire. The other guy goes, hey, does anybody see me? Boom, and he's hit. So, what does all this mean? It means that we don't know exactly what's going to happen on this particular situation over here. We do know the guys that are entering, they can move. That's not a problem because there's nothing in front of them, nothing to interfere. Well, let's take this as an example. Take our little quickie little left-hand flank, lower left, in my left anyway, scenario. Who wins the initiative determines what's going to happen, right? We're going to say, and we would have said this at the beginning of the game to both players, the person that wins the initiative is physically in time and space moving before the other player. It's not just a physical convenience to have him move and then the other guy move, and then everything fires. He's actually in time and space moving before the other person or firing before the other person if he wins that roll. If he doesn't win the roll, then the opposite is true. He's not able to do anything until the other player does. So if we look at this situation over here and the Confederate wins the initiative, he could say to himself, you know what, instead of just sitting there firing, let's charge. Well, this melee is already happening between this cavalry unit from the last turn and the infantry unit, which is by the way, 67th Indiana. And the only thing that he's really got to move is this cavalry and this infantry unit here, moving from last turn, right? Remember what I said, marking things stopped or not stopped, right? But we don't do that. We should, but we don't, because it does make a difference, okay? So if these guys that moved there moved and stopped, then that means in the next turn they were going to fire, right? Everybody stopped. Everybody get ready, aim, fire. But say the Confederates win the initiative. This guy says to himself, you know what, we've got the initiative. Let's charge it. Well, we don't have that speed charge thing, but it's just you get to move first. So let's move first. So let's take this guy and go, well, actually, you know what we did? We did this die roll thing, right? It was a 4-sided die. And he moves 3. So 1, 2, boom, he's in a melee. Now, before contact is made, do we have that fear of contact thing? Sure. Why not? I mean, it's realistic, right? And what is the result of that? The result of failing a fear of contact is you get an incremental hit. You're disordered or you're scared or something of that nature, right? So you roll red, you're scared, and you get a penalty. But before contact is made, can they fire? Well, the rules say if you are in the turn marked to not move, then you will be able to fire at the time of your choosing, okay? Because you're not doing anything. Well, obviously, Terry, wait, you skipped that phase of the turn where you mark orders. Well, that's right. I skipped the thing where we put markers on the table saying, you know, hold or move, right? Just like the old Johnny Reb thing. You really do have to mark things as, I'm choosing this guy to do something and I'm going to put the marker down. You can't see it yet, but then we show the marker and the guy is revealed and we say, yeah, he's actually not moving. Okay, this guy's not going to move. And then he put the other markers down. Of course, that's a melee, nothing happening. And this one here, this artillery would have been marked to do something. This infantry regiment would have been marked to do something. And this guy here and this guy here. And these 2 artillery batteries as well. So if this guy was marked hold, he gets to fire just before contact. Well, actually, he gets to fire anytime if it's in range. But, you know, they'll wait just before melee contact and we'll boom, you know, fire. But we would roll before that for fear of contact. This unit here, if we marked it to move, where would be the likely place to move? Well, it doesn't matter because we lost the initiative, right? We already said Confederates won that initiative. All right, so even if they were marked to move, they don't do it yet. So the Confederates win the initiative. They're going to fire. This is set down from last turn. It's going to fire. This is obviously a lethal range. That's a grape shot range, and they're going to get an extra hit. So we roll. It's actually an automatic hit. So they automatically hit, and they get an extra red combat hit because of the range. It's, like I just said, lethal. So at the very beginning of this next turn, this guy gets 2 red hits because of the grape shot. So we will, before we go any further, get our little roster out for this guy. And that is the 19th Kentucky. The 19th Kentucky gets 2 red hits. And guess what? They had a red hit. Why did they have a red hit from before? No, that was incorrect. I don't know why I had them have a red hit before. They would not have had a red hit. Because the artillery moved and set down. They can't fire in the same turn. So we'll give them 2 of those red hits right now, which is not good, by the way. All right, 2 red hits in the 19th Kentucky. The 77th Illinois Union over here is going to roll to see if it fails fear of contact, and it fails on a red. And he failed. So the 77th Illinois gets another my pens are not working. That's disturbing because they're not supposed to be drying up like that. All right, we said the 77th Illinois gets another. Okay. They will get to fire, but they're going to fire. No, they get to fire. There's no penalty to combat. There's penalty to combat. No, actually, I was going to say that incorrectly, and I caught myself before I said it wrong. The penalty from fear of contact is not a combat penalty fear. It's a addition to their casualties. And in this case, there are incremental hits. So that is the way it exists. So they get an incremental hit, which is going to count against them and ultimately in the melee. But of course, they will fire. And they get an automatic hit at that range. I'm sorry, no, I misspoke again. A fear of contact failure means you have to roll the die, and it is not an automatic hit. That's what fear of contact does. I'm glad I remembered that. Okay, so we're going to roll, and they did not get a red hit. So they will only cause a incremental hit, not a red casualty hit, in that Confederate unit, which is the 1924 Amalgamated Arkansas. Once again, I'm about ready to stop using. Maybe it's the plastic coating on this index card. But I tested these index cards and they worked. Well, we know they work because they've got marks on them. So for whatever reason, they sometimes don't work on this plastic card. All right, so 1924 takes another incremental hit. We get into the melee. Our 19th Kentucky has got 2 red hits on it. And the melee now occurs with the 67th Indiana. Why? Why is it happening? Because the Confederate has 1 initiative, and he has ordered, by the way, this unit here to move as well. But going through the cornfield is not easy to do, so he's going to get a terrain effect and a terrain effect moving to make contact with the opposing Union regiment. So we give him a terrain effect, which is the same, by the way, as an incremental hit for casualty. And that TE hit 2738 Arkansas. So he's entering the melee with a terrain effect here and a terrain effect there. And 1 more terrain effect, and they're going to be fatigued. Actually, I did misspoke again, didn't I? A terrain effect is not the same as an incremental hit. An incremental hit is from combat. A terrain effect is from terrain. So my cards actually need to bear that into consideration. All right, this isn't working. These markers are not working. And I think it's, you know what it is? It's the plastic coating. It's the sleeve that these cards are in. Yeah, that's really disturbing. That is not helpful when that marker doesn't work. It's not that it's drying up, it's just that it's not transferring the ink onto the sleeve. All right, I'm going to get another pen because that just can't be. That's not acceptable. I'm going to go grab another pen from my inventory here and find out what the heck is going on. These pens should be much better than that. All right, it was the pen. Okay. Because the card doesn't show incremental hits, I'm actually going to use the space on the card for the name of the unit for incremental hits. We'll use the terrain effects hit, but for the incremental hits, we'll cross out part of the name on the card. So the 2738 Amalgamated Arkansas is going to suffer 2 incremental hits. I'm sorry, 2 terrain effects hits. I can see now that I didn't have the space here to put incremental hits as well as terrain effects. Okay, so that is that. Did we get the casualties on the Kentucky? Yes, we did. We marked them as terrain effects, which is incorrect. We will now correct that. You know, have to bear with me. I'm going slow because I want to be explain properly how this is done. And obviously I've been making mistakes already this morning. Anyway, 23rd New York, sorry, the 23rd Wisconsin needs to roll fear of contact. The 77th already did. So they actually suffered a incremental hit. All right. It looks to me now, this one's failing too. It looks to me as if these sleeves that the cards are in are not good. Okay. Everybody's accounted for. 67th Indiana has a red hit and no incremental hit because actually, yes, it does. It has 1 incremental hit. All right. That's actually good because now we know that it's not the pens, it's the card. Okay. So we'll continue and then we'll wrap this up. Let's go for a melee. The Union player rolls red, causing a red hit. The Confederate cavalry rolls a red, causing a red hit. So the 67th Indiana suffers a red hit, as well does the cavalry. What's it? Terrell's Texas Cavalry. All right, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to fix these cards because this is not working. These plastic sleeves are not working. We'll come back.